is going on, everyone? We are here for week 9 of the Porsche Cup Fixed track guide series. This week we're at Road America. Pretty excited for this one. This is probably one of my favourite tracks in the American part of the continent. Just such a unique style of circuit, old school layout. Lots of I wouldn't call them long radius corners, but I would call them, apart from obviously the carousel, but definitely more like a medium speed style of corner that's probably a little bit longer than your standard sort of 90 degrees. So pretty excited to get involved in this one this week and have a decent run. Thanks to everybody that's been subscribing, commenting. I've had some really cool chats lately, so it's been really cool to get to meet lots of different people from different parts of the world and racing backgrounds, and yeah, so thank you again for all that. So let's kick off at week 9 for Road America in the Porsche Cup. Alright guys, so now we're going to break down the laps. So as you're coming down the front straight, it's obviously a very long straight, and you're reaching pretty high speed. So as you're coming down into turn 1, make sure you set yourself up on the left hand side of the track as much as possible. I try and get as close to the white line as possible. So, obviously different cars provide different braking abilities. The Porsche Cup is extremely unique around here that you need extremely long braking markers just to get the car to slow to rotate through these corners, because they're not your traditional 90 degree bends. They sort of flow through, so the car does tend to struggle a little bit. So I'm braking just after the 4 cone here, and I would say it's like a car length after. So when you actually probably look at it on paper, it's probably about this point here. But I just wanted to give you guys that reference point as you're coming into the corner, so you knew what I was looking for. But it's like, for me, the 4 cones, the last cone in that line is like at the end of my wing mirror. So that's sort of my reference to go, right, I'm in the right spot, jump on the brakes. Big brake pressure, 6th gear, back to 3rd gear here. Now, like I said, as close to the left-hand side as possible. Now, I start to turn at the corner extremely early here, and it's more in hope that the car rotates in so I can actually pick the throttle up early. So I'm turning in like the first red square, maybe the second red square. Definitely before this little white line on the track just in front of us here, I'm definitely turning the car at the corner. Get the car to rotate in third. You will use a lot of trail braking in this car at this track, so just be prepared for that, just to like help the nose of the car sort of grip in, and then clip the curb. You want to be coming off the curb right near the end. I'm using the second red square from the end as my sort of start to get off the curb, carry a lot of throttle. You're going to use all the outside curb. Up to fourth gear. Up to fifth gear. And then, now this one's a bit unique. I'm using the 2 board, right? Which we've just driven past. But when I actually look at it, I'm not looking out to the left-hand side. I'm looking at this second white line right here in front of us right now. So this is my brake marker for here. So 5th gear, back to 3rd gear again. You can use 2nd to get it to rotate more if you're really struggling with it. But I'm finding braking a little bit earlier, getting the car to rotate in early, and then picking the throttle up in 3rd, I'm actually finding more time. So 5th, back to 3rd. Turning point's a bit unique here. So the turning point for this one is right here. And the only reference points I have is the edge of the wall. There's like a split wall that comes out for track alignment so that like a caution car safety vehicle can get down the side. And you see how the white line sort of just kinks out ever so slightly. It's like, it's hardly anything, but it's just enough. Once I get to that point, I know I can turn the car in. So I get there, turn the car in at the corner, use a lot of curb on the inside to get the car to rotate. Same again here. Once you get to that last red square, let the car start to track off the curb. The car's going to run nice and wide. You're going to use all the track. Up through the gears. Nice long back straight. I call it a back straight. It's probably your secondary straight, and then you've got a back straight as well. So up through all the gears to 6. As you come down into turn 3. This one's tricky, especially at this time of the morning with the shadows on the track and stuff. There is sand on the edge of the road, but you want to get as close to the edge of the road as possible. So I'm braking just past the 3 board here. So it's probably around about a car length and a half. So it's probably about at this point here I'm braking, and I'm diagonaling the car. So if you'll see in front of me, there's like a little fence right off in the distance. I'm diagonaling down to that. So come down. Once you pass the 2 board, that's the end of the sand on the side of the track. And then you know you're able to start really tracking across to the edge of the road. Over the curb, back to 2nd gear. You'll see that I keep 2 tyres, the left-hand tyres, as close to the curb as possible, right? And then you'll see I turn in 3 red squares from the end. So you actually, it's really good that I've done this. I had a lock up earlier in the session. So you're actually going to be able to see where I start to turn the car. Obviously, that's a wider berth because I was carrying too much speed. But that initial bit of the line where it crosses over the red square is actually the perfect entry line. And then from that point there, obviously, if I was carrying the right amount of speed, you'll see I actually get really close to the curb. In 2nd gear, square the steering wheel up coming off the exit. Use all the track on the exit. Run it up the hill. Up to 3rd. And then I'm braking at the start of the radical signs on the hill. So there's 3 of them. So obviously you can only see the first 2. The 3rd one is where I'm braking. Down 1 gear. And then once I get to the crest of the hill, I turn the car in. So I'm using a thing that I shouldn't be using. I'm using a shadow of the sign. And I know that once we get weather and all these changes coming with the weather protocols changing, I know these shadows are going to change regularly. So I know that it's probably not the greatest marker to use, but this is the marker I'm using at the moment. So once I get to this point here, I really start to turn the car in aggressively. I want to use 2 tyres over the curb. So it opens the corner up. I sort of line up with that tree by itself and then let the car square up on the exit. Up to third. I shift to fourth and lift. Turn the car in. Use all the curb, and then once I'm in line with the tree, then I pick the throttle up, let the car track to the edge of the road. Coming down the hill. Brake just around the 2, so this white line usually does the trick. Just before it butts, so like I'm talking maybe 3 to 5 feet just before, so roughly where I am now. Nice big brake pressure. Back to second gear here. So as I turn the car in, I turn in at the last red square. So now, turn the car in at the corner. Use all the curb on the inside. Now be careful, there is a bump in the middle of the curb, so you need to be prepared for it. So don't turn in and think you can just light up the throttle, because you're going to over-rotate the car. So you need to be patient, wait for the bump. Once you get to the bump, then you'll be able to really start to pick the throttle up. The car's going to track right to the edge of the road. And then you're going to say, not shallow, but you're going to sort of be on the right-hand side coming through here. High gear, starting in fourth. And then I get to about this point here, and I'm sort of dancing on the throttle on and off, and the brake, just to keep the balance of the car in there and keep myself within sort of that 1.5 meters off the edge of the road. And then once I get to, I'm just going to actually go forward a little bit and show you side on. So once we get to that point there, you'll see, actually I'll just go back a tiny little bit, you'll see the end of the Armco barrier. So that is my point where I start to throttle the car up and drive the car out of the corner. So from that point, the car starts to rotate in, and I want to be as close to this edge of the road as possible and just giving it more and more throttle as the car's taking it. You have to be careful. If you're even like a foot off that curb, the car's going to push wide and you're going to end up off the track. So you need to be patient with it, but you need to be leaning on the car and building it up. And don't just try and stomp on it, because it's not going to work. You need to like gradually build the speed up with the car. Coming through here, up through the gears to fifth. At the one board, you lift off the throttle, tap the brake to just give you a little bit of front, get the car to the curb right near the end, and then on the throttle. As soon as you clip that curb on the inside, you want to be back at the throttle, full noise. Take the run down the Canada corner. I step myself up a little bit more to the right-hand side, coming into this final king. So then as I set myself up, I'm nice and straight for the braking. Big braking pressure at the 3. Once I get to the 3, nice big brake pressure. Back to second gear. Here, I turn in at the 1 board, or just past the 1 board, I should say. So it's about this point here. So it's quite an early turn in, because you've got a lot of road to run off on the exit. So up to second. Once I clip the apex and I'm starting to throttle up, I actually grab third to give myself a little bit better drive stability out of the corner. Use all the escape curb. On the throttle, nice and aggressive. Lift at the end of the curb to get the nose in. Pick the throttle up as it gets to the curb. Square it up. Run it through. And then the final corner. So I'm braking. You'll see the bitumen colour change, and you'll see the angle I'm at. So as I come out of that up the hill over the crest style corner, I'm very far to the right hand side. So instead of me trying to duck back to the left as quick as possible, I actually sort of, for a new term that I've been taught this week, diamond the corner in a weird way. So I actually kind of diagonal the car into the curb. So I come in at this angle, and I'm downing the gears back to third gear. Once I get to the curb, and you'll actually see the white line just in front of me there as well, that's when I start to turn the car at the corner. So it's kind of like a bit of a hook turn, and then I start to turn the car at the corner. Use a lot of curb on the inside, let the car run out over the back of the curb. Square it up and punch it up the hill. And there you go, guys. That is your walkthrough track guide of the Porsche Cup at Road America for week 9 of the Season 3 iRacing 2023 season. I hope this has helped you guys. Good luck for this week's racing, and we will see you next week for week 10. See you guys.